Flowers in the Night by Edith Pons. Table of Content. Artist's Statement. Flowers in the Night series. Background resources, past works, bio, CV, contact. Artist's Statement. Art makes the invisible visible and should guide the human being towards the good. Art is not the anti-art. Art is to edify and not to deconstruct. Art is a deposit of wisdom that materializes through beauty. Art is a type of Christ, the antitype, he who is the Word, the Logos of the Father. Christ, being an invisible God, incarnates in a human being to show us the path of salvation. Art is in itself a religious act for contemplation that leads us to the union with the truth, or failing that, with the lie, embodied in each work. The artistic vocation does exist and is real. It is to share the likeness with the Creator, which in our case consists of being able to substantially transform matter. Not everyone who wants to can be an artist. Only the one who has been granted that innate and then perfected skill is able to beautifully embody that invisible reality, that in turn transforms us into itself. When one is an artist, it is essential to define what art is to be able to dedicate yourself to it. After more than 25 years of reflection and vivid experiences, was indispensable to me to get to recognize that need of creation in me is a divine vocation, and also to know what the objective and ultimate end of artistic creation is. Thus I could have them as a north towards which to go, then being able to detach myself from the formalist and pseudo-discursive baggage of most of contemporary production, which could never satisfy my existential thirst as an artist. So these theoretical and practical search and findings that have been the engine of my life, had now made able to dedicate myself formally to the artistic production. Flowers in the Night, collecting signs of the Via Pulchritudinis. Now I have the goal in sight. Now the gradual process of reconstruction of art begins again. That's why it is the task of stringing together each discovered element little by little, and going from what has been learned to unlearn it, from deconstruction to construction, from relativism to objectivity, from the ready-made to the laborious, from the grotesque and meaningless to the ordered and composed, from the abstract, the absurd and the unfinished, to the significant and complete, ultimately walking the path back towards the beautiful, the good and the truth. Starting from the exhausted approach of the self-portrait in which I worked in my early years of profession, now I resume the portrait from the possibilities offered by the transfer and the projection of the self towards the other, and the elements that have influenced or affected me. It allows me to unfold my gaze in a process of self-knowledge or recognition of the reality in which I find myself now, and from where to leave towards that encounter of transcendental and objective truth and beauty. In my work, I adapt strategies of traditional art and at the same time contemporary techniques, mainly by using in the digital as a valid medium in itself and its aesthetics, both as path for the projection of my particular concept of being. With my artistic work, I seek to access an introspective look that reveals, not always in a rational way, aspects of my experience and the links I establish with reality seeking its depth. In this series of portraits, I combine the use of color, exaltation of pictorial quality with pop images and caricatures of childhood of the kawaii culture, and I configure characters of nostalgic and immature psychology within a mysterious and somewhat dark space, a kind of chaotic image, which could be a portrait of my mental state in these moments in which I find so many ideas in my head, like portrait of the lunacy of the house, to name the imagination, attributed to Saint Teresa of Jesus. A character disguised as a clown, like someone who thought she knew something and trusted in herself, when life showed her how wrong she was, and becomes a kind of buffoon who happens now can take her place among the imperfect with greater humility, but no less enthusiasm to continue discovering what she is looking for. The images are created from models found on the internet, digitally manipulated in Procreate projecting, on them images of pop and kawaii cartoons that filled my childhood, with fantasy and a particular ideal beauty, along with floral environments that evoke that nostalgia for a state of paradisiacal fullness. In the end, what is the search for happiness and that we will never find in fullness in this valley of tears? It seems to me that from the question of middle age in which I find myself, I can already make account of illusions and disappointments. That's why within the darkness of life, chaos or confusion, I continue to meet the true meaning of things that in the end becomes a mysterious path, but full of life and hope, where I will travel as far as God will, and collecting those signs of life and beauty of this process of reconstruction of art, where I feel as if I were picking flowers in the night. Edith Pons, Mexico City, 2024. Flowers in the Night. Pictorial portraits by Edith Pons. Watercolors. Mock-ups. Studio views. Digital portraits. Background resources. These series are influenced by past works like self-portraits, objects, photography, pop culture characters and colours, superposition of images and slide projections over portraits. Self-portrait painting and sketchbook, I Don't Get It notes, 1999. Photography series, Flowers and Bulls, about Crossway's lecture between grotesque and beauty, 2001. Pig over Song, photography of the projection of one picture from the series Flowers and Bulls over a friend's portrait, NYC 2000. Rainbow in Mexico City, a more positive theme entering into my art discourse, 2001. Self-portrait and portrait works, 2005. After a radical change in my personal life in 2001, the influence of cartoons and toys that accompanied my childhood and its aesthetic from what made me happy became a signs of joy, and the use of colours became a characteristic part of my work. Egg with Rainbow, documentary photo of a painted breakfast egg embellished with a rainbow over it, CDMX 2013. Bio, Edith Pons, Mexico City, 1978, is a multidisciplinary artist specialized in painting, graduated from National School of Painting, Sculpture and Engraving, NPEG La Esmeralda. She has exhibited nationally and internationally since 1999. She also has expanded her creative experience into other areas such as assistant of galleries and museums, in art production for cinema and commercials, graphic and web design, advertising and fashion design. She has been a cultural promoter devising and directing projects in Mexico City with contemporary artists such as Land of Hope by Yoko Ono, Empathy by Barbara Kruger in 2016, and Human Being, Urban Being, with the work of Tracy Emin and Keith Haring in 2017. In 2024, she is studying a master degree in sacred art at the Pontifical University of Mexico City and returns to dedicate herself fully to her own artistic production exploring the return of art to beauty, symbolism, and artistic mastery. Combining her passion for painting, portraiture, nature, fantasy, and mysticism with realistic touches in a pop expressionist, figurative proposal. Intermittently, Pons, in her search for knowing the deep meaning of life and art, experienced the path of inner life through religious and contemplative monastic life, where learned principles in Catholic doctrine, philosophy, Christian anthropology and theology, appreciating reality from this deposits of revealed wisdom and faith, of which she discovered the source of truth and finds answers to the existential search that nourishes also her artistic criteria and labor. Past works. CV. Contact.